Well, Broncos country, not just a mile high salute, but cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to you guys because it has been 3,255 days
Man.
since the Broncos have last made the postseason, aka the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50. Since then, we've had 13 starting quarterbacks, we've had 4 head coaches, we've had new owners. I can't even tell you what else. It's been probably the longest 9-year stretch of my life. It's been terrible, but we are back. The Broncos absolutely throttled the backup Kansas City Chiefs as they should have, 38-0. And I am so happy to be, joined by my man Jeremy. It's crazy how things come full circle with me and Jeremy because I started this channel before the season started. He's one of the first people that reached out saying he wanted to collab, and we've been doing weekly collaborations ever since. And maybe you're my good luck charm, Jeremy, because since we've done that, we're 1-0 for the Broncos making the playoffs. But how you feeling, man? Where's your head at? And talk to me about, just what your thoughts are currently.
Yeah, I want to say you're my good luck charm, Mark, is what it is. So
Well, each other's a good luck charm.
the first pod we did was right before the draft, and I'm like, we got to go Bo. And now to see this season come into fruition the way it has is just been so satisfying. Like, I felt every one of those days you just said. Every one of those quarterbacks, every one of those head coaches, everyone, the ownership, everything about it. Like, my next door neighbor, I was over there just hanging out just to celebrate. They're like, you got to come over and celebrate this. All right. Their son, their firstborn son, was born a month after we won the Super Bowl. He's like, you must have seen 9 or 8 or 9. He's never seen the playoffs. And it's just like,
Yeah, I know.
that is insane. This is the
Yeah,
first time he's been alive, you know?
yeah.
My daughter, she's 7 years old now. Like, she's not, not that she cares as much, but he's rocking the Bo Nix jersey over there. It's just like, man, this whole season, if you could just write it down from the first time we went live to now, this is, you know, as much as we've like had troubles with like, oh, they should have done this and they should have done that, and Vance and Sean and should have made better decisions. Like, you can't be anything but like happy and grateful for how this played out. I mean, we were just saying before we started, we're 10-7 and we're making the playoffs, and we could have easily been 13-4, like the way this went. And it feels so good. Oh, Doug, what's up, man? I was just talking to him in another chat, so awesome that he came over. But it feels so good just to be like, wow, we actually, yeah, my dog's excited, everybody's excited. But like, to see us draft the quarterback, be correct on him, we have like the franchise guy, and now we have like a season where we're shedding 80 mil in cap and making the playoffs, and you have young people developing, and you feel like all the pressure's on Buffalo. I'm sorry, all the pressure's on
Oh
Buffalo.
yeah.
They've
We're
choked
playing
in the
with house
playoffs
money, man.
before. Absolutely. So don't go into it feeling like you want to keep going, and why not us? Because we've proved we can play with anybody. We've done it, and so you should be absolutely. And just, I love the way that we not only like, we didn't back in, even though they want to say like, oh, they didn't play the start or whatever. That was I'm so sorry, but if we would have had Russell Wilson going into this final game, even playing against backups, that would have been tight, and I would have been so nervous. And we left no doubt, as they said in Remember the Titans.
Yep.
We just put our foot on the throat and just did not let up. And I love it, and I love just the whole mentality of this team. They've been resilient, and even in the 2 losses that previously of these 2 weeks, like, we were right there. We did not back down. We did not like. So I just love the makeup of this team, and I love the fact that, man, we can just celebrate what a season this has been, and it's not over. The
Yeah.
real season starts now.
No, man, it really has. It really has. It's been an unbelievable year, and it makes me just reflect
Cheers,
a lot
David.
about the season. Oh man, look at that. Let's see. We got a whole bunch of people. What's going on? Appreciate you. Shaw made a statement. He did make a
Yep.
statement. He did.
Yep.
He really did, man. And you know what? When I reflect back on this season, and I kind of think about it, way before you talk about the draft, I remember talking to myself. It does not matter, what we have to do to trade up, to trade back, to stay put, whatever. you need to draft a QB because it doesn't really like if you don't have the quarterback, nothing else matters, right?
Yep.
And as much as like, I mean, shit, I had Brock Bowers on my fantasy team. He was amazing. He led me to a championship in one league. He led me to playoffs in another league. As much as those players are really good, it means nothing until you got a quarterback. And you were on the Bo Nix train before anybody that I know. I got on, in February. I think you were on him like January, December, maybe even before. And it's just crazy, man, because it's like you look back on that, you said this can be this when we drafted him number 12, you said this can be the most significant day in Broncos history. And not only did it take, or not I want to say Broncos history, but the Broncos franchise necessarily moving forward, let's say. And I mean, man, oh man, like, here we are 6 months later, right? Not even, right? It's been about 6, 7 months later. And you're like, holy hell, like it's all come to fruition. It really has been amazing. And then just like, you were reflecting, you talking about like was it your nephew you were saying that hasn't seen it? Hasn't been there?
Oh, my next door neighbor's son. Yeah.
Oh, your next door neighbor. Yeah, it's funny because my nephews, both of them, my brother's kids, shout out to them, Tristan and Julian, if you guys are watching. None of them, they haven't experienced playoff football, man, ever. And I was talking to them about it the other day. And so it's like, you get happy for those kids too, right? And and I mean, looking back on the season, it's crazy. There were so many ups and downs. The Broncos team, you saw this team grow. Like you go back and watch. Like anybody that's watching this, go back, do yourself a favor and go back and watch the Broncos Seahawks game, right? And then watch like the Broncos when they played against, I don't know, when was the other tough loss? Maybe the Ravens
was next.
Maybe the Ravens because Steelers is next. But like even the Ravens, like we got killed, but like you saw such an improvement from the week one, and then watch the Chiefs game, and then watch them even in the games that we lost, like versus the Bengals. You see such an evolution of a team.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing. I think Sean Payton said it so well in his Friday presser when he was kind of reflecting on the team and talking about team photos and all the stuff about how special this team is. It really is a special locker room. It's been so fun. And I can boldly say that by clinching the playoffs, I think we can say we're 2 years ahead of schedule now, right? The plan this year was to just find your franchise quarterback and not be bad and boring, right? Together. And not only have we done that, we've been very good team and extremely exciting team to watch. And we made the playoffs, which is wild, I think. So kudos to the team, man. I love it. And one more thing, just like you had said, there's going to be people that are like, oh, congrats, you guys clinched against the Chiefs backups, whatever. Listen, the same way that people can say, hey, the Chiefs have earned they earned the right to be able to bench their starters and go in healthy to the playoffs. We earn the right to be put in that position too. That's what people need to stop forgetting. Like we were 9-5. We won 9 out of our first 14 games. We have earned the right to have it to where one of the last 3 games that we have to win, make you get in. So I don't care who it was against. I never did care. Makes nothing. And listen, when you play a backup team and you're favored by 10, even the sports books, even all the smart people in Vegas are thinking you're going to, if you win, you're going to win by about 10. You win 38-0. You've made a statement. We did. Yeah. We did exactly that. So I love it, man. I love it. And I think David here makes a really good point.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like you can get lucky in one game or a couple games. You can't get lucky for an entire season. You can't luckily get into the playoffs. You have to earn the playoffs. Any win in the NFL is you never apologize. And that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And
no doubt, man. Yeah. And David makes this way will go a long ways in free agency, draft players to come here 100%. I mean, think about the Tebow year, right? Everybody in Broncos country knew when we actually like backdoored our way into the playoffs that year. We lost the last 3 games and made it at 8-8 because the Chiefs lost, I think.
I don't even remember that. Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't the Chiefs. It might have been the Dolphins. Somebody lost.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing the last 3 games, but still we got in. But the same kind of ordeal, right? With Tebow is like, man, just by them making the playoffs, being put out there on the national stage, showing that we had a lot of the, some good foundational pieces. That's the reason we got Peyton Manning. Now, obviously, it's very different, but but similar in a way that, now teams are going to look at us like, do you want to go to a playoff team? Do you want to go to, a team that's got amazing ownership, a solid head coach, a franchise quarterback? It goes leaps and bounds. So I agree with you, David. It's going to be huge, man. Huge.
And a head coach, like I love the fact that they were so emphasizing in the broadcast how like Sean Payton rides for his players to get the incentives. Like that helps out with
Love
like
that.
free agency too,
Love
because
that.
it's like, you got like this dude's, what's so cool about Sean Payton, and he's like, some people, oh, he's the smartest guy in the room, just ask him, and he's ego, and he's like old school. What it's like, yeah, but like he backs his crap up.
Yeah.
When he said, "There's a lot of people in the NFL that don't know how to pick a quarterback, and I do," basically, like he backed that up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he did not panic pick a quarterback and then like that's the most ridiculous thing. He's like baiting the Vikings to go get JJ, then baiting the Raiders to like see what they're gonna do if they wanted to get a quarterback. Like he was locked in on Knicks, and he was right. And so like anybody saying all this stuff, and I love that he's tough on his players, and it's gonna be long like training camps and all that stuff. But you know what? When it comes to crunch time and you have to get in there, he's riding for his players, and he's going to make sure that like he wants to get them this, and like if you looked at Sutton today, I'm sure Sutton was motivated by like getting the incentive. That's great to get the money and all that stuff. But it was more about like achieving something that Sutton kind of went out. Yeah, my dog's excited about that too.
Oh, you're good.
About how Sutton went into it like I fought to getting an incentive going into the season, and he freaking got it. Like, and Sean made sure he got it. And Bo was riding for him to get that, And I love to see, like, even in the Bucks when they got Mike Evans the incentive, like everybody's just like super psyched for it. That's why your team is good, because these guys like care about each other. Like you can easily just go out and be like, I'm making money and I'm playing in the NFL and doing whatever, but it's like your team has to like actually want to like care about the guy they're next to and like block a little harder or do whatever they need to do. And that's why this team's successful, because it's not even just a matter of like, oh, we picked the right quarterback. There's teams that picked a good quarterback, like the Patriots seem to have picked a good quarterback too, and they ain't going to the playoffs. They're not even close. And the Bears, you could say whatever about them or whatever. So it takes more than just the quarterback. Like you had to come together. You're shedding cap. You're doing all. You're ranked as like the worst or second to worst like roster in the league, and you're like going into the playoffs, and you're going in hot, and you're like, hey Buffalo, you're not going to have a week off next week. Like you're going to get our best shot, and we're not afraid. I'm not saying we could get beat, all that stuff, but like the only game this year where we haven't been close was that Baltimore game. And you're always going to have probably one of those in a year. But like the fact that even in the first couple games when everything was new and you're going full, those guys still kept it close, one score games. So, man, I wonder if you're a Buffalo fan, like watching today, what you wanted, because everybody wants to make a big deal about the Bengals and nobody wants to see the Bengals with talent and all that stuff. But like, okay, if we got Riley Moss back, our defense just pitched a shutout. Like we're finally feeling good again on defense, and Bo Nix is like, can you get a better game than that going into a playoff game?
Yeah.
Like,
no shit.
I mean, the stats are like insane. So, and
speaking of that,
like, I was gonna say, I texted you guys. I go, you gotta love when your quarterback is pissed off because he missed one throw in the first half and it would have been a touchdown, and he's pissed on the sideline. You're up 24-0.
And he would have been, dude. He would have gone 19 for 19 in the first half.
19 for 19 with 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, and he was mad.
Yeah,
he was like,
and that's why I love it, man. In the post game, he said the same thing. He said, I look back on this game and I'm gonna hate the fact that I missed Javonte wide open. Like, I feel like that's a trait of the greats in any sport, is they always remember the thing that gone wrong, right? Not necessarily the game winning shot, but the one that maybe you screwed up on defense, or the one that you missed, or anything like that. So it's amazing. It's because
he expects success. He expects it. It's not a matter of like, I'm hoping for success and maybe not getting it, but he expects it. And this is a great point, Doug. I thought about it all week. as much credit as we want to give Sean and all people drafting and all that stuff, maybe the best move Sean ever made, maybe besides Bo, is hiring and getting rid of the other Bo. That's right.
Yeah.
But is two. That's yep. Those two decisions.
Maybe
the Bo decisions might have been it.
The Bo Broncos or something, because
that's true.
Lying. You ain't lying.
2 years in a row. 2 years in a row to going from being like the most injured year after year after year and feeling like, oh, that's, and no offense to Lauren Land, I'm sure you're right and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But like the proof is now like you have 2 years of evidence, and whatever Bo is doing for the strength and training guys, it's working. And that was the first thing Sean did when he came in. He was like, we need to change this up. And the ownership went into the whole thing about how they studied injuries and how other teams do things and all that stuff. And that's huge, because it's like, yeah, when you're shedding $80 million in cap, we don't have like maybe the deepest team in the world. Like that obviously goes without saying. So you need your guys to step up. And you saw what happened when Riley went out of the lineup and you had to go into like zones and playing and stuff that you're not as confident in. It was a totally different looking team. But man, going into the playoffs healthy is so huge. And man, yeah, those two decisions, which is hilarious that they're both named Bo. It's different spellings, but yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so funny.
It's amazing. Yeah, I guess, if your name is Bo, you've always got the you're always welcome here in Broncos country. Ain't no doubt about that, man. But speaking of the other Bo Nix, the one that we all love and we talked about the most, he's gonna finish his rookie season. All right, and I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna go back and watch the video. I made like a Bo's season prediction video in terms of what I thought maybe his season was gonna look like, and I think I kind of shortchanged him a little bit, but he's gonna finish with 3,775 pass yards. 66% completion percentage, 430 rushing yards, a total of 34 touchdowns, 29 of them being in the air, 12 picks, and a 10-7 record. And that is, well, arguably from a statistical standpoint, I've always said stats don't always tell the full picture. And the good news is that I think stats don't even do justice, I think, for what a lot of what Bo's done. But statistically, one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. And
well, remember last year, everybody was going absolutely crazy for CJ Stroud and just being like, oh my gosh, we've never seen anything like this. This is unbelievable. And just pulling up his stats, he threw for 4,100 yards, so about 400 more yards.
Roughly.
23 touchdowns compared to 29, 5 picks. And that's like considered one of the greatest rookie seasons you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And there's been some regression, and there might still be like tough times ahead. It's not like, but I trust Tony Romo in his evaluation. I loved how Tony Romo was so like, dude, Bo Nix is like it. Like he's the whole game. He was like, from the end of the Bengals game to this going into this game, Bo is on a tear and all that stuff. I kept knocking on wood every time he said it too. I was like, don't jinx this.
Yeah.
But like, I love it when legit dudes who have actually done it in the league, the Troy Aikmans, the Tony Romos, those kind of guys, have to do the research, watch the guys, and goes, this guy is it. This guy's legit, like 100%.
Yep.
And he's like, he's not a rookie anymore. And if you're like upset because you missed one throw and you're absolutely, I mean, people will go, oh, you're playing backups, you should win, right? But like, did anybody in their minds think it's gonna be 38-0 and we're just gonna roll them? And you're gonna get to the point where you're benching your own starting quarterback in a must-win because you're up so much like that. They could have benched him earlier too. They benched him kind of like a drive late too.
They did. They definitely did.
I think Sean wanted him to be like, get 30. Although he had 3 shots at the goal line to like throw it and he didn't. So maybe not. I don't know. But that would have been, I mean, but there's a part of Sean too where he's just like, I freaking told you guys. I'm not going to come out and say it, but I told you guys. I said I knew what I was doing. I told you this was my guy. And every time Bo like had a bad game, or just even like didn't even have a bad game, but just had like a throw or two that you're just like, oh man, what were you looking at there? People were so quick to be like, oh, what the heck? It's like, now that we've had a whole season to like look back on, if anybody who is there, I mean, the Bo Lever converts have had to have come around. And if you're still hating now, like I don't know what to tell you, because that's the best season we've seen from a quarterback in, I mean, way better than Peyton Manning's year when we won the Super Bowl. So like since 2013, since we got beat in
Probably
the Super Bowl
2014.
by the Seattle, maybe 14, yeah.
Yeah, 2013 was historic.
It felt
I don't
like he
think we'll ever
fell
see an
off.
offense like that in
No,
general.
that was like the all timer, but yeah, I mean, that's so over a decade. It's been
Yeah.
the best quarterback season you've seen in over a decade. So that feels amazing.
Yeah, man, and it's crazy because I feel like, and I mean I agree to an extent here with what Pro 16K is saying is in a sense of like I think that not only it's not just the eye test like on the field, right? Because I feel like the eye test kind of surpasses even the stats, but it's the off the field stuff, man. It's like how the guys respond to him. It's how he responds to questions. It's how he carries himself. The kind of standard he holds himself to. That's what I've really been by far the most impressed with. Believe it or not, I still have a friend that I used to work with that's always writing me on Snapchat whenever things aren't going well. He'll never text me though, and he still does not believe in Bo Nix. So I told him, I said, listen, like there's a whole lot of different types of people and personalities. You're the kind of person that like I'm not gonna give any energy to in terms of like I feel like he's just trolling.
Right. Yeah.
But because just like you said, I mean, there's no way that you can't at least feel some sense of optimism, right? I mean, I don't think any of us are ready to put him in the Hall of Fame. I think a lot of us, just like you had reference with C.J. Stroud, you talk about a regression is possible, right? It's not going to get easier from here. There's going to be a lot more bumps in the road, and I can even make the argument that C.J. Stroud hasn't necessarily regressed so much. They've just kind of changed their offense to be like a lot more run heavy because they were running the ball all last year. And this year with Joe Mixon, they've been able to run it a lot more and just kind of figuring that identity out. But it's one of those for me where I look at it like, but you're going to go through those trials and tribulations, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to do it with a guy that you feel that you can believe in. And man, how much easier does it make the offseason when you have your guy, right? The draft is now just so much less pressure. You just get the best guy. You look at free agency, you're like, man, all right, like it's going to be easier for us to get some guys. We have to overpay people constantly. It's awesome, man. It's such a great feeling, and to put the cherry on top of a playoff berth is just incredible. I'm on cloud nine, man. I can't even say enough.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this the whole year. This entire year was only about figuring out if Bo Nix is the guy, and about halfway through the season, everybody was pretty confident he is. So and then you're playing with house money. It's like now it's like, ooh, it'd be really nice to make the playoffs, right? And it's gonna be tough, and there's gonna be other stuff going on. And do we have the horses to do it? Like that. It's not just John and Bo. It's like our defense was playing really well, and then they regressed a little bit, and had some injuries and that kind of a thing. But yeah, we're playing with house money now. And here's the thing. Next year, there's going to now be expectations about playoffs. It's not going to be like, oh, it'd be nice to make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the year where anything that, even if we get beat 38, and I don't think that's going to happen, even if we got beat 38-0 next week, it's super successsul season, no matter what.
1,000%.
Super successful. And nobody can be really like, we'll be upset for like that day or the next week, but really we'll be like, that was a great year and we can build on this and this is a huge year, whatever.
Yeah.
Next year will be, now there's expectations. We have, that kind of thing. So really enjoy the fact that there's no pressure on us. We still have everything to play for. Like, why not us? I don't understand. Like, the Chiefs are the number 1 seed. Does anyone honestly feel like they're unbeatable? Like, they've been almost beaten every single week. Like, and then when we we're 1 blocked field goal away from beating them twice. So, and they're going to be rusty. If we catch them, they're going to be have sat for a month. If we end up beating the Bills, the Chiefs will be like, hadn't played a real meaningful game, most of those guys, for a long time. Yeah, they'll be fresh, but that sometimes is not what you want.
No.
Sometimes that takes you a full half. And if you can jump on people like that, like,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not a team that puts up a lot of points anyways.
No doubt. I mean, listen, I would love to see the Broncos play the Chiefs in the playoffs, man.
Me too.
So much. And I think that, listen, I have so, as much as I hate the Chiefs, I have so much respect for their organization. I really love their fan base too, man. They're one of the better fan bases in the NFL in terms of just like being respectful and cool. So shout out to them for sure. But I'll tell you, man, like I feel like they'd probably agree. Like playing Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, they'd probably feel a little bit better than playing the Broncos because the Broncos always play them tough, too. But what's really nice is you kind of brought up a good point that made me think about it too about this team and Bo and his development is not only has Bo Nix, when you look at the season overall, the 17 games, he's gone up against some of the best defenses, the best defensive minds in the game all year. I mean, starting in week 1, I know that the Seahawks ultimately didn't make the playoffs, but the end of that defense kind of show a lot of growth and show that they could be really good with Mike McDonald and what his staff is doing. And then he plays Mike Tomlin. And then you play the Buccaneers. I can't think of his name right now, but Todd Bowles, and he was a really good, he's a really good defensive minded guy. And then you go down the list. There's so many good defenses, and in addition to that, man, he's played against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and now he gets the opportunity to play against Josh Allen. And even though he's not playing against them, just witnessing and seeing what they can do in person, I mean, the things that you can learn is crazy. So
Definitely.
It could
Aaron
not
Rodgers,
have been like a
Herbert.
better Aaron Rodgers, Herbert. It could not have been a better situation. It could not have been a better like just overall season. I get it. If people are going to say, hey, the Broncos didn't really beat anybody, they haven't really beat a team with a winning record and a playoff team, except for today, which really didn't count. I would say, listen, I agree with y'all, but also, first of all, we can't really control what the schedule shows. And B, in those games where we played against, competitive or good opponents or winning teams, I guess you can look back on the Tampa team and say, that was a playoff team for them. They did have a winning record at the time. But all that aside, it's like, aside from the Ravens game, we were incredibly competitive in every single game. Bo Nix played unbelievably well. We had a chance to win very easily in every single one of those games. So it's like, it doesn't really matter to me. In fact, it kind of makes me feel like if we see those teams again, now we'll have a better chance to beat them because we've got that experience. So
I agree.
It bothers me 0%. I genuinely do not care.
Well, and here's the thing. I remember those years where we needed to just win one game and we collapsed and we lost all 3 going into the playoffs or going into the end of the year and we missed off the playoffs. And as tough as the Chargers being up by 11 on them and then coming back and losing, and then the Bengals going into that overtime and then just having just everything go like, just that game was so insane. But I love the fact that the mentality of the players and the coaching staff going into this game was like, we are going to go in and we are going to thump. And they did it. That was not let's feel them out and hopefully, we'll like, no, they went in like, we're going to be aggressive and we're not going to play scared. It's pretty interesting because it's like, even the stuff that Sean Payton has had, like people have criticized throughout this year, he seems like he's learned too. And a part of it is like, oh, you're a veteran. You shouldn't have to, how does he not know how to do that? Or how does he, but like we were saying it in our like texting today about like, I love how he just didn't try to get too cute. Like that's what he tends to do. He wants to throw it more than run it. He always gets cuter than he needs to. How many chances did we have today where it's 3rd and short or 4th and short? And he's like, all right, Bo, go get it again. Go get it again. Go get it again. I love the little wrinkle, too, of like, hut 1, hut 2. And then they'd snap it quick or do something like that. Just like they made them have to wait on it. They didn't let them have a good snap count, like push on us. And he got it every single time. It worked every single time. And that's the kind of stuff. It's like, that builds confidence in your team. He probably told the team, he's like, look, I'm not going to try to like outsmart them. I'm just going to like let you guys push them for a yard. If we need to get that yard, you guys do it. And they did it. And those are the things that like, again, those things like in the playoffs, you feel like, well, we just did it like 5 times last week. So if we need to get a 3rd and short, 4th and short, especially if it's close, tight game, I love that. I love that Sean feels like he's learning this team a lot too, because a lot of times he needs to try to get real cute about stuff, and
Yep.
I like the fact that he's like trusting in this team, and this team is like paying him back for that.
Yep. Absolutely. And here it is, guys. Breaking news. Shout out my guy. Thank you, David Youngkin, for this. But look
1
at that.
p.m.
Wild card schedule has happened. The Broncos will be playing at 11 a.m. local time. These are Eastern.
11.
So
All right.
11 a.m. local, which I hate the 11 a.m. games. But
I do
I will
too.
say we have an annual tradition. Me and my dad and my brother and my brother-in-law and a couple really close friends. Every year we go to Vegas for Wild Card Weekend. And so it's going to be 10 a.m. in Vegas. It actually works out perfectly with my flight plans. But
Oh,
it will
good.
be 10 a.m. Well, it'll be 11 a.m. 10 a.m. in Vegas. The first game on Sunday. I can't believe I'm
Okay.
looking at the playoff schedule, man. See Denver. This is cool. So let's get it, man. Let's do it. I love that. A week from today, around this time, we'll have a lot to talk about. But I think today's it's more fitting to just talk about the season overall, man, and what it meant, because it was a special year overall, and I think it's gonna make the off season and the draft and everything. So, that's always one of my favorite times of the year too. That's why I love the NFL, because it really doesn't end. I love the off season. I love the draft. It's gonna make it just that much better, man. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you said, you could look at Pittsburgh right now. Pittsburgh, they can't feel great about like their. I mean, they're in the playoffs, but like the way they finished, and like they don't have a real quarterback either, and it's just, you know, I don't know. I was just thinking about it today, and it's like we ended up with the same record as the Steelers, and they are a higher seed because they beat us, whatever. But does anybody? They did it with Russell Wilson. They went 10-7. We did it with Bo Nix. Does anybody out there besides James Marilat want to go back to the Russell Wilson era at this point? Like you saw after what we've seen, how exciting! Like the future is like, oh my gosh, so we're just scratching the surface. To be this, it's like I don't know. It's like hard to put into words. It's like Bo is like you said. It's the intangibles of Bo that are also what's so exciting about it. It's not just like he's got a big arm or he's got like mobile. It's his mentality and his like leadership. And you could just tell with certain people, the Peyton Mannings. I'm not like saying they're the same or anything, but just like there's certain quarterbacks that you just are like that dude's going to be successful.
yeah.
He just is.
Mhm.
Like Drew Brees, like they're just that's the way they're wired. Like they're going to be like that. They're going to put in every effort. And like you said, going from week 1 and 2 to where Bo is now, and how he's getting the play call in, knowing Bo's offense. Just imagine a full off season. Bo didn't have a full off season with Sean Payton and learning all that stuff.
I
He's going to
know.
have a full off season now.
Full off
Like
season, man.
so, it's like so much to be excited for. And
Yep.
yeah, the thing with Russ too, that Doug's saying is like, there were so many good decisions in today's game of just keeping the drive alive. It wasn't there. He didn't force it, and he just kept the drive alive with his feet. I mean, sometimes I feel like, oh man, get an extra yard or two. He feels like he kind of goes out of bounds a little early sometimes, but he doesn't take the punishment. He doesn't get pushed out. Like he just gets what he needs to and keeps it moving. And
He's only been sacked
yeah,
23 times, I think, this year.
yeah,
It's
and that's and
insanity.
going into
Same
the year,
system, same offensive line. In fact, you can make the argument that it was like not as good because we
worse
had
running
Push
game
instead of Wattenberg. A
and worse
worse
running
run
game.
game, and he got sacked almost half as many times as Russell Wilson. It
Yeah,
is insane. You know what? Another
rookie
thing too.
receivers.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy all around, and it's just wild to think about what it was like with Russ last year. I mean, for God's sakes, we lost to Bailey Zappi in the New England Patriots,
Right.
last year. It's crazy. But yeah, man, I just think Bo's special. I think he's got so much intangibles. And I think the biggest thing that I was really surprised about, pleasantly surprised, even though at times it's kind of like, oh, you're living on the edge, is he's got a lot more like Brett Favre, Baker Mayfield, like screw it type of, like basically just fuck it, throw the ball in him than I ever would have thought. But I'm really happy that he does, because I was worried that he was going to be an overly conservative quarterback and like what people would label as a game manager. And as a rookie, you're fine with that, right? But I was worried that like, man, is there a ceiling? That was always the big thing. That's the only thing I said is, what's the ceiling like with Bo Nix? Man, oh man, the ceiling is like he hasn't even gotten close to his potential, which is
there's no ceiling.
Even better. I mean, he's unbelievable. Like, he really does have even more than I had ever anticipated too. And on top of that, he's got the right mindset. He does a great job protecting himself. Super smart. Obviously ridiculously accurate, especially when he's got his feet set. Those are little things that he can still clean up in terms of just his footwork consistency. But man, he's fun. He's fun to watch, dude.
That's why I hated. That was the thing that made me the most upset, is when people criticized him. It's like, oh, his arm's not Josh Allen's, or oh, whatever. He's old. It's like, all right. It's the ceiling, like, comments that always were like, how, like, how are you judging a person's like will and heart? Like, it's so stupid. Like, learn your lessons. All the best quarterbacks of the last decade, nobody would say have high ceilings. Tom Brady did not have a high ceiling. Freaking 100 picks in. Peyton Manning is like, as far as just how gifted he was as an athlete, doesn't have a high ceiling. Drew Brees, again, all the best quarterbacks, like, everybody wants to talk about that. It's like, oh, we can tell somebody's ceiling. You know what somebody's ceiling is? It's in here. That's their ceiling. And nobody can judge that. He's got all that. That's why I'm like, you can't put somebody in a box like that. Because the reason why people are great is because their brain and what they like, their will, and how much they put into it. And that's the thing you can't measure. Yeah. So it's like, I always hate when people are like, oh, well, he's, he might be a really good backup, or he might be game manager. It's like, all right, if you want to underplay his like physical abilities, you're wrong, but that's fine. You can do that. But you can't like judge a person off of that. And the fact that you're giving him like Sean Payton to learn those systems, like you should know better than that. You should know when you put like a brilliant offensive mind with another brilliant offensive mind, what can happen. So like, as a rookie, to see these stats and to see how he finished, and like you said, to only take as low sacks as he did, as low a picks as he did, didn't have a run game for almost the whole year. The same offensive line that everybody was like, how many sacks did Russ take last year? It was insane. And, so to me, it's just, that's where the ceiling talk was always just absolutely ridiculous. And I love his mentality. And I love the fact that people like Mike McGlinchey and veterans who are highly paid veterans that don't need to be in there, like, they like are so pumped for Bo. They love Bo. Mm-hmm. Like, you can just tell on the sidelines and after like touchdown runs, touchdown throws, they are pumped up for him. And so I don't know, like, the thing that's always been after Peyton Manning is like, oh my gosh, stepping into the shadow of Denver Broncos quarterbacks, and you have to live in the shadow of John Elway and Peyton Manning, and no one's ever been able to do that. And the carousel.
We forgot about that shit. We forgot about that.
Well, Bo looks at things like pressure to me is a privilege. He said it over and over this whole year. Yeah. And it's like, that was out the window, like, real quick. As soon as you heard him talk, it was like, I want to be part of the legacy. I want to be that. And you see people like today, Peyton Manning's on the sideline, and it's not like even Bo was calling John Elway and like, give me some tips. Like, John Elway a couple of weeks ago on the Dan Patrick Show, they're like, what have you talked about Bo with? And he's like, I've never talked to him. I was like, that's crazy to me that like everybody still thinks John Elway's running the team somehow, but yet like he's literally never even talked to Bo Nix. I don't know if he has now in the last couple weeks, but it's not like Bo is going in there being like, oh, please show me the way of like how to be quarterback. He was like, no, I'm here for a reason. He believes in himself. He's 100% confident. That's a super confident person. Yeah. And he does not shy away from anything. He had to go through a murderer's row, like you said, of defensive coordinators and tough situations. You have like the biggest playbook with like the youngest team while you're shedding cap, also on the road to start the season. Like, there was so many like ways to see a bad year. So many. And he was just like, didn't let that happen. And just, it took 2 weeks. And then he came out firing against Tampa Bay in week 3
Yep.
and never looked back, honestly.
Yep.
And yeah, has there been some forced throws and has seen some coverages he never saw? Of course. And that happened.
Yeah,
like people forget, like Joe Burrow and whoever else you want to say, they have bad games too. Like Bo has one like forced throw and they're like, oh, there's that rookie thing. It's like, well, the best do that too. Like, are we forgetting? Like, it's the NFL, man. So yeah, I'm over the moon about it. Like, we live here, and a lot of people that are viewers and like even Doug, he's saying I'm in Thailand. They don't get to feel what it's like in Denver, and the vibes in Denver are like the Bo Leavers are like rampant now. Like Doug was OG Bo Leaver, like he was in it from the jump. There was a few of us that before the draft were like, this is the dude, and we rode for him hard. But I love the fact that this whole city, it feels like they all got it real quick. And after 10 years of being burned and not having a guy, for the whole city to kind of look at one kid and just be like, are you all feeling what we're feeling? Because we feel like this is him, that's exciting. Because there's no this fan base over the last decade has been so divided as far as like, it's the quarterback, it's the coaches, it's the ownership, it's this, it's that, the other. And now it's just like, we're solid on our people. And yeah, when you lose a game or something bad, there's going to be like some criticism of like the coach or whoever. But for the most part, everybody feels locked in. And that feels like the first time that's happened. I mean, even when we had Tebow, people were divided. There was huge like anti-Tebow people.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously nobody's going to be against Peyton Manning, but but to be starting from scratch, it hasn't even happened my entire life. We didn't even draft John Elway. So like to draft a guy and then see it like so far, like look this good is the most exciting thing.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Well, what do you think about, this is and I know I said I don't want to talk too much about Buffalo, but I thought this was interesting. It's the early odds for the game, 7.5 is the spread.
Okay.
Expect that to move probably closer to like 7, 6.5 ish, but pretty interesting. Being on the road, they usually give them 3 points. So Vegas kind of doesn't seem like it's, they don't look at it like it's too crazy of a game. They get basically 3-1 odds to the Broncos if you bet them on the money line. So I think it's right around where you would think. But what I really wanted to share too.
What's the weather?
Earliest reports is going to be in like the upper 20s, low 30s, but no rain or anything, or no snow or anything right now. So it's going to be kind of like it was today.
I'll take that.
Yeah, and then this is crazy. Like, look at the rushing leaders on this team. Javonte 513, Jaleel 496, Bo Nix at 430, and who knows if they didn't give him that penalty and they were able to let him run a little bit more, and then he would have gotten even closer. But obviously Javonte would have gotten more too. But Cortland Sutton with 1,081 yards. Marvin Mims is the second most with 500. So, a lot of it is like you look at it like, man, our receivers as a whole, yes, there could be improvement. Obviously, our tight ends and our running backs could use a massive improvement, and yet we still, with a rookie quarterback, were able to make the playoffs. And shout out to these guys, man. Look at that, 13.5 sacks for Benito. 10.5 for Jonathan Cooper, 8.5 for Zach Allen. The defense, especially on the pass rushing situation, has been a baller. It's been unbelievable. But,
did you see that thing too when JFM got that, or they thought he got that sack and he just needed one for the incentive, and then they were mad because Benito like cleaned it up and got the other half sack, and I was like, "How you mad at him? Like, don't be mad at him. Like he's trying to do his best too, and you might not have sacked him if you cleaned it up."
Was that for an incentive? I did see that.
Yeah. So they said in the broadcast that JFM was 1 sack away from $500,000 as well, and he thought he got it, so he was like, that's why he was doing the celebration. But I think he celebrated a little early, and Benito ended up actually making the tackle. So they split the sack, and then they told him and then they showed it on the sideline of them talking about it, like, hey, and actually, like they're splitting the sack, and so they were giving Benito a hard time of like, what the heck, dude? Why, like, gotta let me, bro, like, whatever. And I was like, you can't be mad at him. Like, I don't know if they're being serious or whatever,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was the he said, and yeah, I don't think he got another sack. So, but yeah, dude, Nick
He
Bonito,
just needed
Jonathan
one
Cooper.
sack though.
Yeah, he just needed one for an incentive.
They actually did give him the sack.
They gave him the full one because they said
They
it
gave
during the
they
game it was
gave
only half.
they gave him the full, and I think
Oh,
they
good for
took it
him.
away from Benito. Nick Benito ended up having 2 sacks, but that would have made him at 2.5.
Okay, well, good. All right, good. I'm glad they gave it to
I
him.
think I think the Broncos still would have paid him out on that anyway.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's what's so funny about it. And people are like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like Garrett Bowles hasn't seen a playoff, Cortland Sutton hasn't seen a playoff, but people like JFM, dude, being on the Jets, I haven't seen a playoff either. So the guys that came in, uh, you know, even like the
yeah.
little Jordan Humphreys and those kind of guys that have come over from Malcolm Roach's. I love Malcolm Roach, dude. Malcolm Roach
Love him.
jumping in the stands after the
Love him.
game,
Love that
dude.
guy.
Like that's the right like mentality though. Those are the guys that are the unsung heroes. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the
He's freaking
Benitos, the
good,
Zach
man.
Allens, Malcolm Roach like might have been one of the most underrated like signings of this whole year. Like we were bad
Yeah.
stopping the run, and he has been a dog, man. I really appreciate the way he's played.
Yeah. Nice to see Jordan Jackson too in there. He got a sack today. I think it was his
Oh,
first of the
nice.
season even. So he went out there and did his thing. And
The fact
it
that
was funny. They put something out like the Chiefs only had 13 starters that didn't play. Which
Okay.
means, they had 9 starters between offense and defense.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, I think people forget in the NFL. It's just a side note, but I think people forget in the NFL it's not like it's college football, right? Where you can just every single starter is not going to play and every single
Right.
backup is going to play. Like, it doesn't really work like that. So it wasn't their full JV squad, but I will say they definitely were not prepared. I think their flight got delayed like 7 hours yesterday. I don't think they even wanted to have anything to do with Cincinnati making the playoffs because Cincy would have made it if we lost today.
Yeah.
So they probably were just like, yeah, we're good. We're gonna come out of here healthy and do our thing.
We were joking about this during the game, and it was so annoying to be like every single time they're like, let's check in with Miami. I'm sure all the Bronco fans want to. I was like, that game means absolutely nothing to us.
Yeah,
They could win by 100. It
I know.
means nothing.
Like if Cincy,
Why do you keep saying this?
I know. I was like, if Cincy lost yesterday, sure. But
Yeah.
no one cared. Like we're completely screwed if we don't win.
Like,
So,
yeah,
I found that
Bengals fans. Oh, but it's just like, how lazy can you be? Like, you don't even know that it doesn't matter to us. Like Cincinnati fans, hey, if you guys are watching this Broncos game intently, then you should have said that. But like to keep going on about like Broncos fans, you better watch out for Miami. I was like, freaking doesn't matter at all. That was the thing. Is like, I just thought it was ironic last night watching a game-winning drive that you need from Russell Wilson, like again. It just felt like, oh God, now I got to put faith in Russell Wilson again. It was like giving me PTSD, and then him not like doing it, and it was like, well, all right, there you go.
Well, it's funny, man, because to his credit, he threw a good ball to Fryermuth on the last drive.
The final throw, yeah.
But he played
sacks, bro.
like shit. Like they genuinely have to have a conversation. And I'm really not a Russ hater. I never have been. Like, I was actually happy he went to Pittsburgh. I thought it was a good fit for him. I do wish him all the best. Like, I was really happy to just move on.
Yeah.
But they really got to consider maybe putting Justin Fields back in because, man, I saw this so many times, and it happened so much yesterday where he's just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And he doesn't get rid of the ball, and he takes the sack. And then I go on Twitter, and I see all these Steelers fans like, the Steelers' offensive line is trash. I'm like, oh, my God, dude, I have like PTSD. Like, this is exactly what Denver fans were saying last year. I'm like, you guys are so dumb. Their offensive line, Broncos' offensive line last year was really good. But, like, the Steelers, yes, they have their moments, but they are not that bad. But when your quarterback is just sitting there dancing, what do you expect is going to happen, man? Dude. You know? And so, it drives me nuts.
The thing with Russell Wilson that's going to be like the thing that's going to live in infamy for his career is, you know how they're doing Hard Knocks, but they're doing like mid-season AFC North Hard Knocks on HBO.
Oh, I haven't actually been watching that. Shit, is it good?
Oh, I've watched a little. I've watched like an episode and a half.
Yeah,
but
I gotta go back.
The clip that I saw that was crazy was I don't remember what team it was. Maybe the Ravens. I don't remember who it was. but they were like about to play the Steelers. So you're seeing like the team meeting going into the Steelers game. And they're like, this guy will not throw in the middle of the field. He can't do it. You have to cover the outside and some scramble. And I
No
was
shit,
like,
they said that? That's
oh my God.
funny,
They were
dude.
giving it up. Like, exactly. They're like, he will not do it. He can't do it. I was just like, oh my God.
Wow.
This is exact. And I was like, to see, like, it's one thing for all like the Seattle fans telling Denver fans that when we get Russ and we're all excited about it. And we're like, yeah, whatever. And then the Pittsburgh people telling the Denver fans, yeah, but we're excited. But for like to see the opposing coaches be like, this is all he does. This is all he can do. He won't do this is just like, thank you. That's all you need. Like, as a Bronco fan that's moved on and everybody calling us crazy to like spend 80 some million dollars for a guy who had a good season to go elsewhere. It's like, that's why right there. And man, what a ballsy, bold move. Like, there's been a lot of criticism on Sean Payton or whatever. And, is he just coming to the Denver to take the money because the ownership's rich, all this stuff, right? And it's like, he had the balls to come in and immediately be like, I'll take the job, but I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's going to work with Russell Wilson. And when it doesn't work with Russell Wilson, I'm moving on, and that's how it's going to be. And not only doing that, and then kind of putting pressure on yourself to draft a guy by saying, I know how to draft better than everybody, and then doing that, and then making the playoffs while you're shedding the cap. I mean, people are still criticizing Sean Payton. That's like, dude, like, this dude that's some crazy stuff to be just going, yep, screw this, I don't care. He's a freaking bad man. Like, I'm sorry. That's ballsy as a person. Like, your whole legacy, you built his legacy, in New Orleans as this guy that's resurrected a franchise and all that stuff. And to be able to just to be like, yeah, I've been sitting on the sideline and you should have done this and should have done that, would have done this with Russ. And to come in and be like, I'm going to blow that up. I'm going to draft. I'm going to do this. And then to be where we're at right now, man. Yeah. Good. Congratulations, Sean.
Yeah, no shit.
My goodness.
No shit. And Endo's here say Marquee Sports road trip to Buffalo. I already said it. I don't think you were in the thing earlier, man, but I'm going to be in Vegas next week. Feel free to join me, Endo, if you are down. We're going to be in Vegas watching the game. It's going to be a little bit warmer. I ain't going to Buffalo. And I sure as hell ain't driving there. I can assure you that. If I was to go, I would be taking a flight. No doubt about that. But I appreciate the invite, man. And right here, this is Josh Allen is not an alien. Josh Allen is one hell of a player, though. I love him.
Yeah,
but I mean, dude, to say that Buffalo is not beatable is crazy. They obviously are. I think that they've done a really, really good job this year. Like when they got rid of Stephon Diggs, I was talking to a buddy of mine, one of my best friends. He's a huge Buffalo fan, which is why these games are always going to be tough. Even though next week is like, I don't care if we win. I'm going to talk all the shit. But I told him, I said, man, when you guys traded Stephon Diggs, the best thing that this team could have done, because now it's going to force this team to focus on running the ball more, being a team that's better equipped for the playoffs. So I do believe that. So getting into it, a little bit of the preview. We'll have a lot of stuff this week I know about this game, but stopping the run is going to be a bigger priority, in my opinion, against the Bills than stopping the pass game. So I think we can match up with them man-to-man for sure. No doubt about that.
Here's a question that I would like answered. How's Von Miller feeling right now? Seeing the team that he actually loves.
Yeah, I know.
Coming his way for a playoff game. Like, that's got to feel weird, man. He did not want to leave.
No, I'm sure he's super pumped for them. Did you see he got his incentive today? He got his $1.5 million.
Oh, good.
Good for him, dude. Yeah, he got a sack today. He basically just touched the quarterback when he fell and got him $1 million. It was very similar to the Michael Strahan when he broke the record. But I love me some Vaughn, man. And hopefully, I mean, you never know. There might be a reunion. Maybe he can come here for a year next year just as a, screw it, just come through. And he's definitely not a Sean Payton guy, I can tell you that. So I very highly doubt that would ever happen. He doesn't seem like a Sean Payton dude. But regardless, he's always going to be one of the he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Mount Rushmore of Denver sports.
Definitely. I agree. And Garrett Bowles versus Von Miller. That's gonna be an interesting one, or Mike
It
McGlinchey,
is.
wherever he lines up. But
It is.
you know, I love how. I mean, he's talked up Bo Nix this season. He's definitely follows the Broncos. He loves it. So that's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be interesting, man. I haven't even like thought about Buffalo. I mean, I just didn't want to put the cart before the horse and even start like picturing what the matchup's going to be and how's this going to be and all that. But I don't know if you saw, but after the game, they were showing a little bit of Sean Payton's speech to the team after the game in Club Dub, as it was all smoky. I
didn't see that.
I was in my next door neighbor's house, and Julia's wife was like, "Why is it all smoky in there?" I was like, "Oh, that's the way we roll,
that's
man.
Club Dub, baby.
That's Club Dub." But Sean was basically saying there's nothing more dangerous than a team that's young and hungry.
Yeah.
That's scary because it's like you feel like you got nothing to lose, And
preseason.
Yeah, and he's going to preach that the whole week. Like all the pressure's on Buffalo. Buffalo has to win this game. Like Buffalo beating a team that barely got in, that most people would say all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that have underperformed in the playoffs. They're the ones that were 13 seconds away and all that. Like those all become things that you put on your backpack, on your back as you try to get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. I know it very well. And, if you go in, and this is the type of win that you're going in fully confident as the Broncos. Everybody played well. Riley Moss played well. McMillan played well. Freaking PS2 played well. Benito and Cooper played well. Everybody looked good. Everybody. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix couldn't have played better, honestly. I mean,
literally.
The stats.
Literally. Yeah.
One throw away from 5 touchdowns, whatever it was. It's
he broke insane. The Broncos. I think he broke the Broncos record too, like completion percentage in a game by point something.
Yeah, we're not, and like you said, we're healthy. We're not limping in. So the fact that you're going into any playoff game young, healthy, and hungry is just like, man, I don't know. I wouldn't want to see it. I mean, Tony Romo said it too. He's like, this is not a team that people are going to like look forward to playing.
No.
And you feel like if you're the number 2 seed, you're probably going to get a weaker team. But the way that it's this year has been is like the number 4 seed, 5 seeds are like somehow easier than the 6, 7 seeds, Like,
well, yeah, because I think it's kind of, I was talking to this in another chat, but I think it's kind of BS how like if you win your division, you're automatically a top 4 seed. Yeah. I think if you win your division, you should automatically make the playoffs, but like there's no reason why, like I'm not going to use the AFC, but like the Buccaneers should be playing a home game against a team. Like they could potentially be playing a team in Minnesota. What is the record? They could be 14-3. You know what I mean?
I know. It's crazy.
And going on the road in the playoffs is nuts. So
yeah. I was thinking about that. Like the game tonight, the Vikings versus the Lions, for you could rest them tonight, basically have your bye, and then not show anything in the playoffs if you end up seeing them again. Or do you go full throttle, try to get the bye, and then maybe you still don't? I don't know. It's just that's a weird,
the
crazy
winner
matchup.
of this game gets the bye.
I know, but what I'm saying is like you could just rest this week and guarantee the bye, and then but have to play an extra game, or you got to go full on, show them everything. I mean, they're an in-division rival, so they probably aren't.
I see what you mean.
That surprise. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it would suck to try to like we're gonna throw everything at this game, still lose, maybe pick up an injury here or there, and then you're like, that would be the worst case scenario. You can guarantee a bye if you just are like, screw it, we'll play an extra week, but we're gonna go in like.
Yeah, essentially, you take your bye a week early.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
If they both are going full, and you save your stuff, you don't want to show the other team anything. It's interesting. It's a weird scenario.
There's a lot because, like, I bet you, Buffalo fans, I'm sure they were like rooting for the freaking Broncos to lose and the Dolphins to win, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because I mean, between the Broncos and the Bengals and the Dolphins, I mean, there's no doubt about it. like Buffalo would have loved to play Miami. They would have absolutely demolished them. It wouldn't have even been close. Whereas the other two teams, you're like, oh shit, I can, like, especially the Bengals, right? With them, like with the history there. But I feel like, man, none of these are going to be cakewalks. But yeah, it's crazy. Like the Vikings are either going to have a bye or they're going to go to Los Angeles, play the Rams, and then the Commanders, who are 12-5, are going to be playing the Bucks, who are 10-7 in Tampa. So it's like, there's some really good NFC matchups this year, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Washington, like Jaden Daniels, I'm sure is going to win the Rookie of the Year, and that's going to upset a bunch of people. But like somehow, like maybe this just gives Bo another chip to like. He's not a person that I feel like cares about like individual like accolades that much, anyways. But like we all wanted it, obviously. But
I honestly, and I said this, I would prefer that Bo did not win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think it might be better in the long run.
I don't even care. It's like, why even have the pressure? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too is like, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have won that award that ended up not, RG3 won that award, whatever. Mm-hmm. But as we've said in previous weeks, and I still stand by this, I'll stand by this, and I could be wrong, but if you gave me the chance of a redraft with a number 1 pick, I'm not taking Jaden Daniels over Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos. I just think he's the better player for the Denver Broncos.
I would agree. It's all about fit. I would 100% agree with that. I would probably think about it a little bit, but yes, I mean, no doubt about it.
You're not going to be wrong.
I think, and like I said, I think that it's taking nothing away from Jaden. I think Jaden Daniels' fit in Washington is perfect. With Cliff Kingsbury, it is perfect. That's why it's working out so well. Like if they could redo it, obviously they would take Jaden again. Yep. But that's what we always talked about. Like the fit is so big, and that's why Bo Nix to the Broncos was intriguing. Like it wouldn't have been necessarily as intriguing if he went somewhere else. So,
yep. But I mean, and that's what's exciting is like, I don't think anybody would take Caleb Williams first anymore. And as talented as he is, I just don't think they would. I think they've seen a lot of
not a chance in hell, dude. He is,
and
I'm telling you, even though it's a shitty situation there in Chicago, he's not that good, man. He's just not.
It's it's his personality, and it was always his personality. That was always the thing that with him. And it's like, man, I see some plays and I'm just like, wow, that is an amazing thing that you just did. But gosh, I just don't love his personality. Like when he CJ Stroud, remember how he like dapped him up after the game and was like, hey man, don't worry about it, like did it. And he was just kind of looking at him like, why are you talking to me? Why are you telling me this? I'm like, I don't want that guy. I just don't. And maybe this will humble him. Maybe he'll come around. I
mean, I hope he'll need like a QB guru to be the next, head coach, offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
His problem is that his play matches his personality in a sense of like, if things aren't going well, it's a wrap for him. And there's so many times, dude, where like guys are wide open and he doesn't know how to play in rhythm. Like I said, not things that you can't coach him. But he doesn't really know how to play in rhythm. He doesn't have that like fight. I don't really feel like his teammates really care that much about him. It's crazy. Whereas like, when you watch Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or even Drake May, I think he's looked really good. Michael Penix even looked good today. But Drake May, a lot of the times it's like you see somebody when you watch them. Like I don't care about like the one wow throw that they're gonna have in a game. When you just watch them running an offense, you can see, oh man, Drake May has the ability to run an offense. Jaden Daniels looks amazingly comfortable. Bo Nix looks comfortable. Caleb Williams, half the time, he looks like he has no idea what he's doing. He really doesn't. And yes, it's a shitty situation. Their coaches were terrible. The Chicago Bears are the Chicago Bears. But like, my God, dude, look like you know how to function in an offense.
It's interesting because Jaden and Bo and some of the other guys you said, they play in a style of confidence, and somehow Caleb Williams plays in the style of arrogance. Like it's just like I'm better than a check down, or I'm gonna try to do something spectacular, and it's like, all right, well, I hope that works out for you because those guys get paid too, and that's not what like. Again, we talked about like leadership. That just doesn't rally people your way to be like that.
Nope.
You can't do it on your own, no matter how talented you are. You just cannot do that. And that's why it's like people will love playing with Josh Allen and those kind of guys. It's like because they'll give you everything they got, and they like are excited, just as excited for their teammates, but they're not like, yeah, another great pass by me kind of a thing. It's just like it's just interesting. But I do think like as much as I am happy with Bo and love that, I honestly do feel like all the top 6 quarterbacks drafted are all very talented. Um, I don't really. There hasn't been any of them that I've been like, oh, I could see them just falling flat on their face. Even Caleb Williams is so talented that you're just like, I could see him figuring some stuff out. Maybe he'll get humbled and turns into a great player. And we haven't seen JJ been able to do anything, obviously, but like, it's pretty weird if you go back and look at the first round of this draft and just been like, there wasn't a lot of busts. Like there was a lot of really good. This is going to be like an all-timer draft. And it's pretty interesting to be, I mean, as much stuff that has gone against us and made wrong decisions, Paxton Lynch's and all that stuff, when we were bold enough to say we need to draft a quarterback and move in the direction of a rebuild, what a year and what a draft we had to do it. So that is where I feel really fortunate that of all the years when we finally go all in on the draft and a rebuild, it was the year we can get a Bo Nix and Jonah Ellis and freaking Audric and Velays and I mean even
and then developing the other guys, right? Like Riley Moss and Mims.
Abrams Drain.
How good is Mims?
Dude, like him being able to like get a little bit out of the backfield has really revitalized him. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Like, I would love the tight end seems like it's the biggest obvious hole right now. Because even the running backs played really well today. Now that they've kind of moved away from Javonte a little more and actually given
he looked good today.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's like just give him a month off every time and then he'll look good. But yeah, the receivers look better. I mean, Vele had Ed McCaffrey-esque Johnny on the spot was so like it was. I mean, that's when you're like, oh, today's going well. Some games are like, oh man, I don't feel like today's going our way, and then other times you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it was at that moment where I knew I was like, all right, it's a wrap. We're winning this game.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I love it. I know we're over an hour, man. Oh, hour 7 minutes. It's crazy how fast time goes. Real quick, I just want to leave it on this. We had a question here from Saeed saying, how can we beat Buffalo defensively? Well, stay tuned to the channel, man. We're gonna have a lot of videos coming up about breaking down Buffalo. But I think if you ask me, how can you beat Buffalo? You just need to. It's gonna sound so cliche, but you need to win the turnover battle big time. You turn this team over, you take advantage of those opportunities. It's going to be huge. I think the good news is overall, I think we actually match up pretty well against Buffalo in a sense of where their strengths are on offense, our strengths are on defense. Like their strengths, believe it or not, this year have been running the ball, and that includes Josh Allen, who's a hell of a runner. We've been pretty damn good at stopping the run as a defense. We've struggled a little bit at times in the past game. So that's good. And on the flip side, Buffalo's defense is not that good. So they can get got if needed, and they're specifically weak in the pass game, which is our strength on offense. So that's kind of my take on that overall. But
yeah, and again, like I said, Buffalo's going in with all the pressure, and they have lost big games in the playoffs before. So if you stake with them early and you don't let them jump out and you're not playing catch up, they are probably more likely to get tight than you are. And that's when anything can happen. That's when balls go through people's hands, or you don't field a punt, or something happens. And like I can't even imagine being a Buffalo fan, to be honest with you. Like we've actually tasted like Super Bowl wins, and the monkey on the Buffalo's back of losing 4 straight Super Bowls back in the day, and then the way that it's gone with Josh Allen, I can't even imagine. So there's a lot of pressure on that team, and they're having it at home, and they're playing a team that has got nothing to lose and is healthy. So
yeah, and as somebody that actually really likes the Bills, I think I mentioned it before. Like if I my second favorite teams. I like the Lions, I like the Bills. I always have, of respective
Mhm.
fan bases. The Bills losing the game to the Denver could potentially be the greatest thing that's ever happened to their franchise because they would probably fire Sean McDermott, who I think is a good coach, but I don't think he's the right coach for the Bills to bring him to the next level. And then who knows? Who knows who they bring in? I mean, shit, maybe Mike Shanahan wants to play, and he'd love to get his hands on Josh. But that's
Man,
a
who
whole nother
knows?
rabbit hole. But I appreciate you guys in the chat, man. It's been awesome. Broncos
Absolutely.
country. It's a great day to celebrate. Y'all
Yeah.
enjoy. Pour yourself up a drink. You know, order yourself some fast food. Whatever your vices. Go ahead and do it. You guys have earned it. It's been a hell of a season. Jeremy, thank you for
You guys.
rocking with me
Of
all
course.
year, man. I'm really looking forward to doing it again next week, win or lose. And
Yep.
we will be having a live session tomorrow night as well with me and Jeremy, along with David from David Talks Broncos. Check out his channel. We're going to break this down. Maybe we'll do a little bit more looking ahead to Buffalo as well. But appreciate you guys. Everybody have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Playoff bound.
Let's go.